All right, guys, we're back.
Yeah.
Good news. Paul is here.
We got him
got
on.
him. He was
Hey,
out there
guys.
in Never Neverland out there in space somewhere. Let's put him on screen. There he is. All right, man. Can you see us and can you see yourself?
I can write songs, but don't get me anywhere near a computer, you know?
You and me both. Well, let me be the first to welcome you to Tulsa Music Stream now that we've fought
Thank
through
you, guys.
the
Congratulations on your 100th episode.
Hey,
Yes.
Thanks, buddy. We are so thrilled to have you here celebrating it with us. We have a lot to cover with you tonight. You're doing a lot of great stuff right now. Let's kick things off with some winger talk. I want to put this up. Sorry, I'm a little discombobulated from that, but we're going to put this up. I just want to put this group shot up of you guys as we talk about this. Now, you guys just wrapped your 35th year of being Winger the band. To what do you attribute Winger's staying power, not only as a band that continues to put out relevant, excellent music, but the fact that it's been the same guys the whole way through?
Yeah, which even amazes us at this point.
Yes.
I think definitely one of the contributing factors would be that we all, through that 35 years have had numerous projects that kind of let us get away from it at different times. And, of course, Reb was with Whitesnake and Rod's got the Dregs and Kip's got his classical stuff. And I went off and did, Steve Perry and Tommy Shaw and John Waite and stuff. And, so it just keeps us fresh. And then when we come back and hang with each other, it's just so great to catch up and go have dinners and all that. The other thing is that we are just really, we're all pretty different in a way. And, so we don't feel the need to just always be hanging out. When it's tour's over, we all kind of run our separate ways for a while. I mean, we keep in touch, but, we all live in different cities, except for me and Kip, we both live in Nashville here. But, so that's part of it, I think. And we're just lucky. Sometimes you just luck out and you get five guys that are all fairly responsible, and we don't have Alvin or Gilligan that we have to the guy that we have to round up all the time. So
right.
You mentioned all those bands and, the medley that you guys brought in on your set. We actually caught that in Key West, Florida. And it's just amazing, all your talents and all the career and all the different, bands you guys have done, all the different projects and how you're able to just make that into one medley. That was just a cool moment.
Absolutely.
Was that the one 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, because we haven't played that medley in a while. We just tried it out on the boat one time. We just thought, man, we've all done a lot of stuff. It'd be fun to just kind of grab a couple of the tunes and throw them into a quick medley. Well, it ended up being fairly long, but that was a lot of fun playing that. Yeah.
So specifically talking about Kip, because we had him on the show several months ago. You know this better than anyone. Kip is very cerebral. He's very thoughtful. He's borderline intimidating. We were a little intimidated going into the interview. Maybe we just don't know any better. I was gonna say by the time
Kip imitation.
That was perfect. That was definitely it. But by about halfway through, he was starting to warm up and he even gave us a little music lesson. But Kip is just, he seems like when you really kind of crack through that exterior, he seems to be a really great guy. Talk a little bit about what Kip specifically means to you, not just as a coworker in this industry, but a brother and a friend too.
Well, at this point, yeah. Words don't really describe it, when you've been working with somebody and creating for this long and you can still hang in the same room and crack up, or when we get together and we get to go out and have dinners, I feel very lucky, and he probably would say the same. We all know that what we have is not usual. Most of the bands are one or two guys left, or and not knocking it. A lot of times it was help things, or some of the bands have lost their members, and we're just lucky. We're all healthy, and that we all still enjoy it, and also that we have other things to do, which I know we're talking like this year. We've toned it way down. Last year was our 35th year, and we released the 7th record, Winger 7, and we toured extensively for that, and it was tiring. So this year everybody's getting back into their side projects, and we're still doing some shows, and I haven't seen the final roster of what we're doing yet. I do know we're playing Sweden Rock Fest, which I'm looking forward to. And then we're doing some prog fest in Atlanta in September. That's going to be a lot of fun, where we're going to play the Pull record in full. So that's going to be really cool.
Oh wow, very cool.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, because when I went to your website and looked up the dates, I just see those 2 dates. Do you feel like this is going to be kind of I don't mean a down year for Winger, but just less dates? Are you guys kind of taking a little break so you can?
Yeah, we've all decided that we're going to play way less shows.
Okay.
Which, it's great. I mean, it's nice to be able to do that too, and kind of just get your energy back for it and take a little breather. And so,
Sure.
You mentioned the 7th album, which is a stellar album. I love it.
Yes.
It's your first album back with the guys. What was it like back in the studio with Kip and all the guys, and going in there and recording that?
Well, we didn't do it in a studio. Some of it, Kip and Reb did a majority of the work. I was, and when they were writing, I was still working on the Mick Mars record, so I didn't get involved in this one as much on the writing, well, at all, actually. By the time I got done doing the stuff with Mick, Kip and Reb, those guys are very prolific. So if you don't get in quick, they're going to have a record done. So, I gave it one shot one day. I had a couple ideas, and Kip's like, no, he knows what he wants. And, they had already gotten a majority of stuff that was in a certain direction. And I hadn't really heard much of the stuff that was happening, but I did play on everything. I did keys on everything. And so I did a majority of it by myself, as did, John and Reb did a lot of their parts at home as well. And then we flew Rod down into Nashville, and, and me and Kip were in a studio while he did his drums. And then I did play, Kip was nice and had me play a guitar solo on Broken Glass, which is a really cool anthemic type of tune. So that was nice. I got to play a real melodic solo on that, which that's down my alley.
There you go.
Well, it was great to have you in Tulsa not too long ago. It was a very cold day. You're here at the Hard Rock Casino.
It was a very cold day.
Yes.
Yep. You're here with the Cherry Pie guys, Warrant.
Yeah. We love those guys. As a matter of fact, we all sat in the coffee shop the next morning and just talked for like 3 hours. A lot of fun.
Super cool. Looking at your career as we were researching you for the interview, I think you're one of the guys in the industry who has absolutely handled his career right. And what I mean by that is you haven't put all your eggs in one basket. You've diversified your talents. You've branched off into collaborating and writing with other artists and getting into TV placements. We'll get into that here in a little bit, but we certainly want to talk about your collaboration with Mick Mars. Let's put this up on the screen. This album is coming out. It's going to be released February 23rd. It's called The Other Side of Mars. Now,
yeah, 2 weeks from tomorrow. I'm really excited.
Man, we are too. We've heard the 3 songs off of it. Loyal to the Lie, Right Side of Wrong, and Undone just came out. They're all stellar. And this is quite the lineup, man. You really have put together a stellar lineup. You've got Jacob Bunton on vocals, Korn's drummer, Ray Luzier, and then you have a guy named Chris Collier who plays bass. And then it's produced by Michael Wagner. What a stellar collection of people. Tell us how this all came together.
Yeah, there's one more guy on. And matter of fact, he is the singer on Undone, and he also singing on another song called Killing Breed. That's Brian Gamboa, who's a good friend of mine here in town. And that's a long story of how that happened. But Jacob sang on a majority of the songs, like 7 songs, and Brian sang on 2. I know that we don't have the singers in the videos yet, so there's been a lot of confusion. A lot of people are like, "Wow, Mick's got a killer voice." So,
that's amazing.
Yeah, but anyway, it's those 2 guys, and they're both phenomenal and great guys.
Yeah. So as far as the collaboration, I take it you've known Mick for a long time. When did he approach you about being part of this creation?
Yeah, so he didn't. Michael Wagner did.
Gotcha.
They had recorded some stuff, and they didn't have a singer yet, and they didn't have lyrics. So Michael called me and asked, "Hey, would you be into trying to write some lyrics to some of these ideas?" And I said, "Are you kidding? Of course, but my first question also was, how is Mick a nice guy? You never know. And
Right.
Michael's like, oh, he's a great guy. And Mick lives here in Nashville as well. So
Cool.
Michael dragged me down there that day, and we all sat and talked for like 6 hours. And Mick finally said, hey, you want to take a stab at a couple of these? So I said, sure. And I already know which ones they are. And so I took them home. And of course, when you're writing lyrics, you can't just magically fit them over anything. So there was some changes that musically, I thought would be great to do to make, the best of, the situation. So I called Mick and I said, hey, do I have your permission to kind of be a little creative with these? He's like, sure, So I finished one, and the other thing was I'm not a great singer. So if I had tried to sing what I had just written to Mick, he would have hated it. So I called Jacob, me and Jacob had written a bunch of stuff for TV together. And I put him on it and got it all put together and played it for Mick, and he loved it. So from there, that's how it all started. And then we flew Jacob out, and the three of us talked and just started working together. And it was a very long process, and we would just get together and change things around and try stuff. And, me and Jacob would come up with some lyrics and take them to Mick, and he would change stuff. And then we would, go re-sing it. And it was fun. It was real creative. And the three of us, I think, really heard alike. We had the same ears, and, I think we would all know when we were falling short, although, sometimes when you're amidst the middle of it, it takes another guy to come in and go, no, that kind of sucks.
Sure.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of trial and error. And in the end, I think we got a really great result. And it's real diverse. The record, well, as you can probably tell just from the first three, going from Loyal to the Lie, and then you've got something really cinematic like Undone, very heartfelt, kind of emotional song. And that's this Killing Breed is the other one that's kind of a similar vibe to that. And then there's a song called Alone, which it's just a powerful but pretty song. That was the first one that me and Jacob did. But anyway, it's a real diverse record. I think people will be real surprised on some of the stuff that's on it, and looking forward to it coming out.
I was quite surprised. We had John Corabi on here a few months back as well, and we talked about his songs. He didn't know if they were going to make it or not, kind of thing. And then apparently Mick comes out and says that some stuff was going on with them, and they said that shit ain't gonna fly. So I guess those songs did not make the album, which
I think probably because they had some good songs, and of course John's an amazing singer. I think that sometimes when you live with something too long, it just in your mind it just starts seeming like old news and stuff like that. And who knows down the road, maybe those will pop up again, and because they wrote some cool stuff, I thought so.
Just like the old days when they have like the Japanese release and they had like extra tracks on the album or whatever.
Yeah, you never know. And but I understand how that, like some of my songs that I've had sitting around, and all of a sudden you live with them long enough, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, that one again. It just seems like old news to you in your own brain. Of course, no one else has heard them. So,
right.
And I know there's been a lot of interest in people hearing John sing some of those and stuff. So,
yeah, sure. When I was doing some research on you, I had no idea that both you and Mick were I guess you dated this his wife, right? Amy Canyon. Is that right?
For a short time in like 1981.
Okay,
Wow.
so that was before Mick, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, years before. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I guess I heard in an interview there where you wrote that song "Miles Away."
That's what people say and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So back to the Mick thing, and then we'll move on. I read that he's already either thinking about or developing material for a second album. I guess it goes without saying that if you were approached to be part of that, you would be open to that as well.
Of course, yeah. No, we love hanging out. We love writing, and sometimes I just go up there and it's we have coffee, and it's just a good hang either way. But You know, I know he's got a bunch of ideas started. I haven't started working on any of it yet. And, you know, at this point, it's like, wow, let's just kind of concentrate on getting this first one out.
Yeah, no
So
kidding.
down the
Right.
road, who knows? You know, I would love to work on some more stuff with him.
Sure.
You have a stellar career, I didn't know that you actually co-wrote the Skid Row "Gangs All Here" song, and that's a great album, and I love that song. Tell me a little bit
Thanks.
how that worked out, or how that
Yeah,
came
and
about.
Rach just came over one day and he's like, "Hey man, we should, you know, write some stuff." And we had you know, messed around with a couple song ideas in the past, and we just wrote you know, just for fun. And then, you know, one day he came over and said, "Hey, you know, we're starting to work on stuff for the record. You want to try and write something for Skid Row?" And I said, "Sure," you know. So me and him started bashing on that idea and got it to a certain point, and then, you know, we dragged Snake in, and Snake came in with some great ideas on that, and yeah, it came together. But that was 2018, and
Yeah.
all
Wow.
of a sudden, you know, time went by, and they got more songs together, and I had forgotten about the song, honestly, and you know, had no one had sang it, so it was just us trying to sing melodies and stuff. So it didn't sound like much of a song, but you know, Rachel finished up the lyrics, and then, you know, when it came time for them to start recording the record, little did I know they had made a singer change and had switched over to Eric Gronwall, who, you know, is just an unbelievably good singer.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Rach called me at the last minute and just said, "Hey, remember that song we wrote?" Well, it's the title track of the record, and it's the first single. So,
Wow.
yeah, I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" And you know, and then he said, "And Eric Gronwall sang," and I'm like, "What?" You know, so. I'm a huge fan of Eric, and once I heard the mix, I was like, God, you know, it was a lot better than what I had remembered in my head, just
Right.
with us trying to sing little melodies to it, you know.
Sure,
It's
sure.
definitely great stuff. Let's go way back in time. I know you've discussed this in other interviews, but maybe for the benefit of the people watching tonight who haven't heard the story, you were in Aldo Nova, and the ever knowing, all wise Wikipedia, that's just the most accurate source of truth. We all know this. They described the Aldo Nova period in your career as your first taste of mainstream success. So
Yeah.
just share some memories of that era, how you got that gig, and what working with Aldo Nova was like for you.
Yeah, with Aldo, it was just the weirdest thing because I had been, you know, living in Sonoma County, which is above San Francisco, and you know, all of us that were up there were constantly trying to move to LA to make it, and as luck would have it, one of my trips back up to the Bay Area, because I would be living down in LA, then I'd move home, and Aldo came to San Francisco to put a band together, and I can't remember why, but you know, he had put a band together with Kevin Carlson and Billy Carmassi, who's Denny Carmassi's little brother, on drums, and David Sykes on bass, who David ended up playing in Boston in later years. So yeah, he put a whole band together, but then decided he didn't like the keyboard player, and a week later. And I knew all those guys, and so I got a call, and they're like, "Hey, Aldo needs a keyboard player." And I had met him already at a party, and I went to a rehearsal place in Marin and played for a day, and all these label people were there, and he's like, "Hey, you got the gig." So it was an amazing year. I mean, I went from playing in little clubs and bowling alleys to playing the Pasadena Rose Bowl sold out, opening
Jeez.
for Triumph and Blue Oyster Cult and Journey.
Heck yeah.
So, and then we yeah, it was cool. I mean, the single shot up to, like, I think #3 on the charts, and we toured with everybody from Sammy Hagar, and we played with Heart and Blue Oyster Cult, and you know, a lot of bands. It was unbelievable.
You know, for us younger rockers, back in the 80s when we were watching MTV, you know, we were at home, you know, 12, I don't know, 12 years old, something like that. And I would stay up late to watch, you know, see if AC/DC, for those about the rocks, you know, video was going to come out. And of course, Aldo Nova's Fantasy video would come out. And it was so cool to see him out there with his leopard skin and, you know, the laser. We actually cover that song in our band, and we just love it. And it's, you know,
That's
the
cool.
cool intro. What do you think about, have you heard Steel Panther's version?
No, I haven't. And funny enough, you know, because we just toured with Steel Panther in the UK. And we had so much. Those guys are so great.
Yeah.
Every night we were all in each other's dressing rooms hanging out and just had a fantastic time with them. But something funny, that laser in the video, if I remember correctly, that was done by Steven Spielberg's company. And that just shows you how far stuff's come along. I mean,
Wow.
It looks so fake and
Right. But back then,
and
I'm
it's
sure
funny
you were
too,
like, oh
'cause
my
not only
God.
am I in that video, but I'm an extra in the video. There's one point where I walk through the screen with a girl as an extra.
Oh, we're going to have to go
Find me.
back and analyze that now. That's too funny.
Yeah.
We did not even know what a video was when we went to shoot that. It was 1981.
Right.
And we we never, the MTV wasn't around till late 82, I think. And
Yeah.
so we're like, what's a video? And they just said, oh, the thing that Showtime shows between movies and all that. So they flew us down there and we had no idea what we were supposed to be doing. So, but we shot that, and we also shot a song called Ball and Chain, which was a ballad.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's out on YouTube or not, but
Wow.
We'll have to check that out.
I mean, some of this stuff, I have the list of a lot of the people that you've, have worked with, and I'm blown away with a lot of them, because I was one of those guys that liked, the more deep cut stuff of the metal rock bands like Keel, and you work with Mark Ferrari, and then of course, Mark Ferrari.
I worked with Mark, not Keel.
Right. Yeah, but he was from Keel, guitar player, and then John Waite, that's a great one, and Vane, Vane. I mean, so cool. And
Vane is, Davey is one of my best friends, and matter of fact, don't tell anybody, but we just got together in Las Vegas at the Red Rock Casino. I got there at about 9 at night, and we sat and had hot fudge sundaes. I was like, man, how rock of us. But, I was beat up. I'd been traveling for 2 weeks, and he was pretty tired. And so we got together to say hi, and there was this ice cream parlor. I'm like, oh my God, look at those things. So yeah, he's one of my best friends, and his manager back in the day when they had first started the band, they had just came to me and said, hey, we'd like some help producing our demo. And I was like, well, dude, I'm not a producer, I didn't know how to record very well back then. And they said, well, we just love how you write and we love what you do. So I went in on their first demos and helped them and played a guitar solo on one thing. And just honestly, it's so long ago, I can barely remember what I all did. But they put me as producer on this CD or not CD, a cassette, of course, at the time. And Kat, their manager, ended up sending this thing. She's a real go-getter, Kat Zerdowski. She went on to do lots of huge things. And she sent it all over the place. And some girl in New York saw it, and she was the one responsible for putting band members together with Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, Vane is kind of responsible for me getting an Alice, and getting an Alice is responsible for me playing in Winger, because Kip had just got the audition as well. So I kind of owe it all to Davey and the guys.
So cool.
So I know you've probably had a billion questions over Alice Cooper, and I got to meet him when he came to Tulsa, and Eddie Trunk was there, and I got to ask him some questions on air and everything. It was really cool. And but have you ever went golfing with the guy?
I don't golf, and even if I did, I'd know better enough not to go out there. He's evidently really good.
Yeah.
Our crew guys always come back going, God, he can hit the ball,
He says he likes to go out there so he can beat the pros. He beats them all the time.
I honestly think that he still tours just as an excuse so he can golf in all the different places.
You're probably
Every
right.
morning, like we'd pull up at 6 o'clock in the morning to a hotel, and depending on the roads on any given night, it could be really bumpy. And sometimes you just don't get a lot of sleep, and there'd always be a waiting car for Alice, with the Callaway people, and he'd go out golfing all day. He's like the Ever-Ready Bunny. I don't know how he does, and he's still going strong. It's amazing.
Wow.
Hey, I would be doing the people watching a disservice if I didn't get to some of these viewer comments and questions.
Put the chat room
Yeah,
up.
let me find that screen.
Cool.
Okay, so
you guys out there, by the way, thanks for watching.
Yeah, there's a bunch in here checking you out. So our friend Ramon, this may have scrolled off the screen by now, but he said Paul, I noticed with Winger's last Houston show, there was a lot of video being shot from stage. Is Winger preparing to release a live album soon?
No, we were shooting that for a possible another video. And we already have, let's see how many we released. We shot a bunch of video on the different songs just so that we have it. And we just thought we'd shoot some live footage as well on a few of the songs. And honestly, I have not talked to Kip lately, so I don't know what's happening in terms of all that. But I assume, we will release a few more for this record. So
okay. Some other nice comments. Melissa Mumpower says, "Thank you, Paul, for all the music throughout the years. You are certainly an incredible artist. Many blessings to you." Lots of really nice comments in here. I saw another question.
Raymond One Gun Ray says, "Paul, do you still keep in contact with Alice Cooper?"
I don't. You kind of just. I've seen him, and then I get to say hi. I'll show up at a show here and there and catch up then, and but we don't call each other, and and same with Steve Perry. You just kind of everybody moves on with their lives, and you do end up running into them or talking every once in a while, but it's fun just to always catch up when I see him playing somewhere.
Yeah. And speaking of Steve Perry, I know there's a new Netflix movie that's out. It's called The Greatest Night in Pop, and you can kind of see how Steve kind of works in the studio when he was. I don't know if you saw that Netflix movie yet. It's got where they do the "We Are the World" song and everything.
Okay.
And there's a section where they had to Huey Lewis and Cyndi Lauper and Kim Carnes had to figure out a harmony, and they were on the spot, and you had Daryl Hall Oates, Daryl Hall was right there, Steve Perry, all these big time singers, right there, and he had to come up with this harmony, and they're trying to figure it out, and you can just kind of see their heads in the background kind of shaking, like. And Steve's trying to help him out, where to go, where to reach it. And they finally got it, but it was an interesting movie. I just wondered if you saw that or not.
He's incredible in the studio, and he has unbelievable ears. I mean, there's times where he would hear stuff, and there'd be 5 of us sitting behind him going, "What?" And he goes, "Rewind it," and and he goes, that noise, and none of us could hear it, and pretty much soon we'd strip away the tracks, and there would be this little noise, and I'd like. But yeah, amazing working with Steve. And, I wrote most of the Strange Medicine record with him, For the Love of Strange Medicine, that one right there. And it was over like a 3-year period. And then we ended up doing a 2-month tour. And it was incredible. There was days where I'd have to kind of just pinch myself. He's such an incredible singer, and there's no one that has that voice. He was so original and so melodic, and I learned a lot about songwriting with Steve. He just floats melodies over stuff, and it was awesome.
What an accomplishment.
No kidding. You've gotten to work with just cream of the crop talent. Here's another one, Tommy Shaw. Tell us how you developed that connection. What was working with Tommy like?
Tommy is awesome, and he's actually my neighbor now, and it's funny because since he's moved here from LA, I've ran into him only twice, and like it was in airports in other states. He's on the road constantly. I think he's a workaholic, but he's the nicest guy. What happened was we were doing a show with Alice. We only had 3 more shows, and we were doing a show at the House of Blues in Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard. And Tommy came down and came backstage, and everybody was talking, and he was about to go out on tour for his solo record at the time, and needed a keyboard guitar player and someone preferably that could sing. And he came up to me and said, "Oh my God, are you actually finishing this tour in a couple of days?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh man, would you come out on the road with me for a month?" And so I said, "Sure." And so that was opening for Leonard Skinner, and it was Peter Frampton, and Leonard Skinner was headlining. So we went out and did that for a month, and it was nothing but fun. We just laughed the whole time, and yeah, it was great.
This may seem like a silly question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I'm just curious. When you are going to engage in songwriting, do you typically start on guitar or keyboard, or does it just depend on what kind of song you're trying to craft?
Oh, it's all over the map.
Okay.
Sometimes I have a little lyric idea. Sometimes I have a melody. Sometimes I'm just jamming chords, or sometimes I just start with drum beats, and that kind of limits you to what you can, and then you can only play certain things over that beat, and sometimes you come up with different stuff. So I think pretty much like everybody, it's always different each day, and
Yeah.
that's how you can kind of keep it fresh, and so you're not doing the same thing all the time.
Sure, sure.
You spoke that Tommy Shaw was your neighbor. Um, Another great one who we recently lost was Jeff LeBar from Cinderella, and
Yeah.
he was a neighbor of yours as well. Is that right?
Well, at one point, when I first moved to Nashville, he, little did we know, lived right across the street from me. It was the craziest thing. But yeah, I miss Jeff. And, we'd gotten together, me and him and Eric were all at a barbecue, literally like 3 weeks or 4 weeks before he passed away. So I am really grateful for that hang. And, he looked good, and, you just never know. So, miss him a lot, though.
Your Sabrina the Teenage Witch theme. Tell me how all that came about. I know you started getting into doing songs for movies and things like that.
Yeah, well, that was from Mark Ferrari, and I had been writing quite a few songs for that, and it was in about 2000 where my friend Danny Lux called me. And Danny, if you watch any big TV shows, he's a huge TV composer and super, super talented. And he called me one day and said, "Hey, they want a new main title for Sabrina, but I'm swamped. I've got 5 shows going a week, and I don't have time to do this. If you want to try and get the main title, I'll split it with you." And I was like, "Sure." So it took me 3 attempts. Melissa Joan Hart's mom, Paula Joan Hart, was the executive producer, and she wanted something that sounded similar to The Sopranos.
Oh,
So I
wow.
was like, Sopranos? So I did this kind of synthy, pulsy thing. And
Yeah.
then Viacom and Warner Brothers called and said, "No, we're cutting picture to a Chemical Brothers thing. Make it psychedelic 60s." So I was in
Oh,
the middle of working on that when Melissa's mom called back and said, "No, cut. We're gonna have a meeting. We'll get our shit together, and we'll all figure out exactly what we want from you." And so they came back, and it was they said, "We're going to send you 4 main titles that we like. Just kind of put it in that vein." And then she called me later and said, "Hey, rock it out a little bit." So
hmm.
it's just a pop rock song, and we got this kid that was SAG. They had to be SAG in order to sing it, and so he sang it down, and I just lucked out. And her mom called, and she's like, "Yeah, bullseye. This is it."
Awesome. I would imagine that part of the industry, it's probably kind of similar to when you develop a reputation as an artist that like another artist could contact to go on tour with, because you're not a drunk, you're not strung out, you're reliable, you're
Right.
going to show up, you're going to be a pro. I would imagine that maybe once you kind of work your way into the TV placement side of the industry, you do one, you get a good reputation for that. Word probably travels pretty fast, and that probably just leads to more and more opportunities down that road as well. Am I right about that?
It can, but it's, the TV thing is really separate in a lot of ways. There's little camps, and there's, different companies. But back when I was doing it, when Mark started his company, there was nobody doing what Mark, his company was doing, which was, writing songs that were good enough to be on records. And because when it's TV, most of the time you're going to give your publishing away, which means you don't own the song anymore. So,
Right.
but being as that there was no competition and everything else was elevator music back then, it just took off like a rocket ship. So we were placing our songs left and right. And I remember when I first came to Nashville, everybody's like, "Dude, you're an idiot giving your publishing away." And I'm like, how much money are your songs making? None of them were placing anything with any country artists and stuff, and they just had their songs sitting in a closet.
Right.
And I was making good money and having, my songs were all over TV and getting in movies. And now these days, because the business is so difficult, and
Yeah.
streaming is, just a nightmare. But it you know it's everybody's trying to do it now, and everybody's going, oh, okay, yeah, it's TV. You have to give your publishing away. I don't care. I'd rather my song be making a little money than sitting in a closet. So
Yeah, and there's so many changes in the industry these days. I mean, from when you guys first came out, with the golden age of the '80s and everything, were things more difficult to navigate and get to one place to the next, or is it easier today? As far as like, I guess you get a lot of the weekend fly-in dates and things like that. Was it more challenging back in the day, or is it more challenging now?
Everything's more challenging now. It's just travel in particular. Last year, every gig or every other gig, one of us was stuck in a town somewhere because of flight cancellations or delays. And last year we did our first bus tour. It was a 5-week tour when we went out with Tom Kiefer and John Corabi opening, and that was a lot of fun. But I loved it. I love being on the bus, just playing the gig, and then you've got all your stuff out there, and you can just go and either fall asleep or watch movies or do whatever you want to do, and you wake up the next morning and you're in the next town, as opposed to flying, which is okay, everybody, it's 4 o'clock lobby call, run to the airport and you fly, hopefully it's on time, and you make your layover and fly the next town and get a rental car and drive 4 hours in the middle of nowhere. People don't realize how tiring even doing 1 or 2 shows for us can be.
I'm sure.
But it's part of the gig. So.
Yeah, with all these projects, I mean, at any point, have you ever, just thought to yourself, I'm overwhelmed here, and I need to cut back on all this stuff and just focus on one.
I actually quit for after the Steve Perry thing in '96. I was like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I'm burnt out, and I started taking photography lessons at UCLA and at this place called the Learning Tree, and just did that for a couple years. But at the same time, though, that being said, that's when I was starting to learn how to record, and Mark was just starting to get the TV thing happening. So it was it was just like a little interim period where I just did photography, and which I love, and but I don't use my cameras anymore. Now any pictures I take, it's just a quick shot with my phone, because and all my cameras are film, and I don't even know where I'd take film to get developed anymore. But
gosh, no kidding.
And a lot of that kind of is what kind of sparked when when you first left Winger, just kind of just tired of all of the commotion of the touring and everything that went on there, and you just wanted to just kind of take a break.
It's it can catch up with you really quickly.
Sure.
I don't know how, and I mean, we've all had our fun party days and drinking and all that, but I don't know how the guys that are seriously drugging and drinking and all that can do it. It's very tiring. But gratifying. I mean, there's a huge upside to it all, or we probably wouldn't keep doing it,
For sure.
One of my favorite bands is, of course, Kiss, and you were, or I don't know if you still are, or if you still do the big rock show.
No, but we're all great buds, and that was a weird little side thing that Ryan Cook, that plays with Ace Frehley now, and also Jeremy Asbrock, we were all in town, and at the time here in Nashville there was just not a lot of rock stuff, and Ryan came up with this idea. He's like, you know what, let's just put a for fun band together. And because we had a club here called 12th and Porter that had incredible lights and sound. And so he said, let's just go down and just play for our friends, let everybody in free. And of course, we knew we would pack the place. We knew enough people, and they would all have drinks, and the club would make money, and we would have fun. And, we just told the club, hey, give us some beers, and we're just going to do this for fun. And initially we thought, we'll do it 1 or 2 times, but it just started going over huge. And one night, Doc McGee came down and saw us, and he's like, man, you guys are really good. And we were just playing all these 80s hits, Bon Jovi, Scorpions, and Def Leppard and all that. Ryan was singing. He'd sing all the more 80s stuff. And then we had a bass player, Dino, that was singing all the, like AC/DC and Dio and all that. He has just an amazing voice. And anyway, Doc said, hey, you guys would be great for the Kiss cruise. And dragged us on there, and to our surprise, everybody loved it. And so we ended up doing that. We played on about 4 Kiss cruises and 3 Kid Rock cruises, and but now, of course, Ryan and Jeremy, they went on to play with Gene when he did his solo thing, and then when Gene had to go back with Kiss, Ace asked, "Hey, Gene, can I have those guys?" So they're out playing with Ace now, which is awesome.
It's so cool how you were able to navigate to all these different professional musicians, and just how you were able to, each one of them was kind of a stepping stone for you. And then some of the projects you're doing, like you said, these guys went on to play with Gene. It's like, now that's like they're some of their stepping stones to get to the next step. So it's really cool.
Yeah, you never know which thing you do. That's why I've always had a hard time saying no, and a lot of times it worked out to be something that I didn't even expect. I would say yes to one thing, and all of a sudden it would just lead me into this next thing, like the vein thing. I had, little did I ever know that would be the stepping stone getting me into Alice Cooper, so.
Yeah. It's awesome. Well, let's do some rapid fire viewer comments and questions real quick.
Sure.
We've already been on here with you for quite some time. Thank you for all the time tonight.
No problem. Thanks for
Angie
having me.
Parker, you bet, man. It's fun. Angie Parker says, ever done anything with Robin Zander or Cheap Trick?
Well, no, not just him. But, we toured my first tour with Aldo. We toured with Cheap Trick for a month. It was, weirdly enough, I think it was us and Saxon and Cheap Trick, and which is a funny bill. But we had a great time. They were super nice to us, and it was for me. I was just like, so in awe, just hanging out with those guys, and just being a kid. It was awesome.
Absolutely.
Roberta Gibbons says, "I've always said that you should publish a coffee table book of all of your photos."
Hi, Roberta. Roberta's one of the wing nuts.
There you go.
Awesome.
We love those guys.
Awesome.
Enough people have said that. Maybe I should. I just quickly snap stuff out of the car window and things like that. But I get a lot of comments on some of my photos. So yeah, I'll consider that.
Leslie Bailey Allard says, "Have you ever written a book on all of your ventures?"
No, I had a guy approach me about that as well last year, and aside from my music thing, some of my real life stuff is kind of crazy and be a long story as well. So it's maybe down the road. Getting into a book is pretty time consuming, and you have to really delve into a lot of stuff, and I'll maybe approach that when I have a little more time.
So cool.
Our friend Elizabeth Talcott says, ask him how much he'll sell his Headbangers Ball shirt that he wore in Tulsa for.
I bought that, funny enough, at a podcast last year from Ricky Rockman. He gave me a good deal on it, though.
Wow.
So I don't know if he has a website, but he was selling them. So you might check Ricky Rockman's website.
Okay.
I kind of know the answer to this one. Gina Chastain.
Yeah. Hi, Gina.
Okay. She says, "Paul, who would you like to work with that you haven't yet?" I know the answer.
Well, historically, I've said Pink.
Yeah.
I would love to write a song with her. I just think she's got an incredible voice. That duet she did with Steven Tyler was amazing. And I don't know. I need to come up with a list on that one. People always catch me by surprise with that question because I haven't thought about it. But I definitely know I'd love to work with her. I've seen 2 of her shows, and she's obviously not a rock artist, but she rocks. I mean, live, her shows. I walked out of both shows. Just matter of fact, the last time I went with one of the people was Jimmy from Train, and we were just standing up, and we were in a suite at Bridgestone Arena, and we both just walked out, just floored how good the show was. So
I have to ask you, what are your thoughts on Lady Gaga as an artist?
it's awesome.
She is, isn't she?
This business is really tough, and for anybody that finds their way from just a struggling artist up to the point where she's Lady Gaga or Taylor Swift, I'm just more power to them. I support anybody that's out there doing it, and even ones that aren't stylistically what I like, but I like a pretty diverse uh, bunch of stuff. And matter of fact, I was talking to a guy in my coffee shop this morning. He said, like we were talking about shows we'd seen. He goes, "Yeah, don't tell anybody, but I went to a Barry Manilow show and it was incredible." And I was laughing because back in the Alice days, our guy Joe Gannon that used to put our shows together used to do the show for Barry Manilow. And one time we were in a city, and Barry was playing the night before, and the promoter called us and just said, "Hey, your Alice laminates, we will honor them and get you guys in if you want to see Barry." And we went down there, and he was unbelievable. And the coolest thing was, at one point in the show, he said, "You guys probably don't know this, but some of my band have their own band. They're a fusion thing. I'm going to get off the stage and let them do their thing." And they just were unbelievably good. So, yeah, you never know.
Very cool. We have a YouTube viewer who has a question. He says, "Is there any place to listen to Miles Away with Eric Martin on vocals?"
There's not yet. I was thinking I'll just let it out at some point. I'll figure out a way to do it, and of course, cross check with Eric and make sure it's cool. And sure. I mean, he honestly sounds killer on it, and Eric is probably solely responsible for that song seeing the light of day, because and that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize. Like, a song can be made or broken by who sings it, and Eric, despite the fact that I had no clue what I was doing recording wise, I mean, this is like, I think 1982 when I wrote it or something. And I barely knew how to record. And I had a little 4-track recorder, and my recording is awful. And he sang the crap out of it. So thanks, Eric.
We've been trying to get him, of course, Mr. Big are out there doing their thing. We had Billy Sheehan on, but man, we would love to get Eric on.
In Key West, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I love Key West.
Amazing.
So do you collect records? I mean, what do you do when you're not actually playing music and touring? Do you watch movies? Are you a sports fan? I know you're from San Francisco. Are you going to watch the Super Bowl and root for the 49ers?
Totally. Yeah, I am definitely a 49ers fan. I was I root for the Titans too, but they have not been having great luck. And I don't know, this whole story this year with 49ers and Brock Purdy is really incredible to see him go from last draft pick to the Super Bowl. But so yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching that. I don't collect records. I have what's left of what I used to have of a record collection. I don't even have a record player to play them on. I'm not like some of my buddies that just sit. I honestly, I don't like to sit and listen to music all the time, because, it's nice to just hear nothing for a little bit. And then on other days, I'm back in the studio recording all day. So the last thing I want to do when I finish recording is listen to more music.
I totally get it. I totally get what you're saying. We don't want to let you get away without thanking our mutual friend, Matt Lemieux, who helped put this interview together, and he connected us. And there you are with I guess Matt brought that guitar to you at the show. And
I sold that to him about 5 or 6 years ago, I think, and it went into good hands. That's my old Winger guitar, and I just wasn't using it anymore. I've gotten back into more of my traditional guitars, all my Strats and Les Pauls, and I'm glad it went to somebody that loves it.
So speaking of, I've got a picture up on the screen. You've posted about the company Third Power Amplification, and you've been raving about these Magfrag Riot Buckers. Tell us a little bit about that. Is that kind of that company's equivalent of like the Sustainiac that's on the Schecter line?
No, it's not a Sustainiac. No, it's just a pickup.
Okay.
But Delana came up with instead of having one magnet for each pickup, because not to get too technical, but pickups, they can be a ceramic magnet, or they can be a Alnico 2 or a 3 or 4 or a 5. Typically they'll be 2 or 5, and they just makes them brighter or stronger. And anyway, so you can just pickups you can get in all kinds of varieties, but that particular one, the Magfrag Riot that I'm using, and also Scotty from Skid Row is really loving it too. It's just a ballsy, great pickup and full sounding. And Delana, and Delana plays in Vane, so that's where the connection there was. And now John is doing a lot to run the company, and they're putting out amazing amplifiers. I think they're working on an amp for Joe Satriani at this point for that upcoming thing he's doing with Sammy, and just great company.
Awesome, man.
I know when you first started, when you learned how to play the piano and keyboards, and you kind of gravitated more towards the guitar when you started learning how to play guitar. Where are you at now? I know you do both, but what do you gravitate to more? What's your go-to, the guitar or the keyboards? If you had to pick only one.
Well, I probably would say guitar, just because it's easy to pick up my guitar, especially now. I'm using that little Spark Go. It's like an amp this big, and it's just the technology in that little thing is unbelievable. And I'm having so much fun playing through it. So, I can sit and watch TV and noodle around on guitar. Whereas where the keyboard is like, okay, go out to the studio and play. And I honestly, like, other than the Mick record, which that's been done for quite a while, I just kind of have taken a writing break. But this year is where I'm going to fully jump back in, and I'm not sure what. I have a lot of stuff half finished that I wanted to start releasing some songs that are like, hey, this is just Paul. This is me, what I write, and by myself. And so I'm not going to make a record. I just probably will finish a song at a time. And I've been saying that for a while now, but last year was such a busy year, I couldn't get around to it. But my plan is to start finally getting some of these mixed and start putting them out just for fun.
Sure,
Wow.
sure. Another couple quick comments, and then we'll cut you loose here. Our buddy Rick Fox says, Kenny Rubin says hi.
Hey, Kenny.
And
I just hung out with Kenny in Redondo Beach. It was awesome.
Oh, right on. We got a couple different viewers in here. Lauren Nichols, and I think someone else is asking, what is your favorite Winger song to perform?
Headed for Heartbreak, without a doubt.
Man, that's awesome.
That song, it's just weird. Like, you always have a song that just plays itself. Like, even when our stage sound is bad and everything's sucking and we're having a bad night, that song, it's so full and powerful. It always seems to sound good. So I love playing that.
Awesome, man. What else you got, Scott?
The Mick Mars album. I can't wait to hear it. What I've heard so far.
Everybody, pre-orders are available now on Mick's site, and I think it's mickmars.com if I remember correctly. So pre-orders, of which I've already ordered some myself just for good luck. But it'll be out February 23rd, and go check it out. It's a very diverse, interesting record. I think you'll like it.
We will. Paul, thank you so much for coming on with us tonight and giving us so much time. We'll send you the link to the interview. You can check it out. Check out all the viewer love and comments that you're getting in here. You've been an absolute gentleman.
Hey, thank you guys for tuning in out there.
Absolutely, man. We wish you all the best. Thanks again, and have a great night. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care, buddy. Bye-bye.
All right.
Excellent.
So
that
cool.
was a solid 100th episode.
Yeah.
And I was a little scared there at first, but we've not had that one happen before, but we fought through it. We got him.
So I wonder what's up with the password thing. Was that
I don't
just
know.
on his end or our end?
We'll take this off air.
Yeah, I guess so.
We'll fix it for next time.
But it was so cool because actually with Winger they got to tour with Kiss, and then then got to go on to Kiss cruises and do a few of those. And how cool was that? I mean, amazing.
It's
amazing story. And I didn't want to just go in order from his first project to now. I kind of wanted to jump around, and there's so much stuff. I mean, he even worked with Enough's Enough and
is that right? I didn't know that part.
Of course, Kane Roberts and so many other artists, and he's just has an encyclopedia of musicians he's worked with.
Well, it's like I told him, if you're going to get into this industry, which I can't really think of a tougher industry to try to break into. You do it the way Paul has done it, by diversifying it. You don't really want to put all your eggs in one basket, because that basket can easily fall apart, and then you don't know what to do. So he collaborates with this guy and that guy, and it's like I said, man, once you establish yourself as a solid dude or girl who has their crap together, they're reliable, word travels. You're not ever going to be out of work for long. And Paul is an absolute testimony to that. What a solid guy.
Thank you guys for checking in with us and coming into the chat room. As always, make sure you share our stream on your favorite pages and your favorite groups on Facebook. And if you would, go over to YouTube and hit subscribe for us, man. We're trying to get to 1,000. We're close to it. Make sure you hit subscribe and the notification bell, hit like, all that good stuff. And as always, we're also on Twitter and Twitch, and we're all on podcast platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, and so many more. So I appreciate you guys so much for hanging out with us.
Yeah, and let me give some more love to our viewers. The comments are just pouring in. Angie Parker, this was great. Thank you, hon. We appreciate you so much. Roberta Gibbons, thanks for putting Paul on the air. He's such a great musician, incredibly nice guy. Couldn't agree with you more. Sean Brown, it's good to see you in here. Glad we took you back. Man, that took me back to, Winger took so much unfair criticism back in the day, and I'm glad we didn't even go down that road with him because I want to focus on the good stuff. Gina Chastain, great interview. Thank you guys so much. Remember, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please do that. Tulsa Music Stream. Make sure you like and follow us on Facebook. All that good stuff. Let's talk about what we have coming up. This is really, guys, this is going to be a good one, and I think it's going to get pretty deep. So I hope you guys like deep, thoughtful interviews, because we're going to be talking to Bobby Brown, who, as Scott said earlier, she was the model in the Cherry Pie video,
and wife of Janie Lane,
and wife of Janie Lane, and she has really had a transformation in her life. We're gonna talk about her history and the music side of things, and then we're also going to talk about her transformation. So I expect that to be a very deep and interesting and thoughtful interview. So make sure you join us Thursday, February 22nd at 6 p.m. Central for our visit with Bobby Brown. It's going to be a good one. Thank you to our sponsors who make the show possible. If you guys have any video needs at all, you need a video shot for your band or business, please contact our friend Syke at psychomo@gmail.com. DEB Concerts, a proud sponsor of Tulsa Music Stream, has this awesome show coming up. It's Doug Burgess's first show at the Vanguard, and he's bringing in Lita Ford and Last in Line. That is Saturday, April 6th. Doors at 7, show at 8. Tickets are $40. If you're like me and you want to sit down because you're old and tired, you can pay a little bit more to get into the mezzanine level. Highly recommend that. This is an all-ages event. Get the tickets at stubwire.com. That's going to be an amazing show. Dustin Little is the reason you guys can see Tulsa Music Stream on multiple platforms, including YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. And if you guys have any IT needs at all, he's your contact. 918-640-0892 or contact Dustin at okiepc.com for any IT needs you might have. Do you need excellent photography done for your band or business? Please contact our friends at shipmanphotos.com. Your branding done right, they will make you look good. Identity Merch is where you need to go if you have any screen printing needs. They can print you some t-shirts, hats, all kind of stuff you guys might need. Just contact Todd at identitymerch.com or give him a buzz at 918-521-5660 for any screen printing needs you might have. As Scott said earlier, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Help us in that drive to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're building this thing one brick at a time. It takes you to get there, so make sure you go hit subscribe and hit the little notification bell so you know when we go live. If audio is your thing, we are going to upload this episode, and you can hear all of our previous episodes as well on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. That was a mouthful. It always is.
Always is. Thank you guys so much. This is our 100th episode, and there's so many memories from starting this thing out from the ground up and not knowing anything, that we were just doing it for goofy fun, during the pandemic, and just interviewing ourselves and local artists, and we kind of just started building from there, and just kept going and going until we started landing cool guests like Paul Taylor and Kip Winger and so many others. It's been amazing.
Yes.
A lot of these guys that he's worked with, we've had on our show, and it's so cool to kind of hear all their stories, where how they grew up and became who they are, and it's just fascinating to me. A lot of these artists are some of my favorite bands and groups and rock stars that I grew up listening to and hearing about and reading about in all the magazines and everything. But man, when you start talking to them, you learn so much, and doing all the research on them, you learn so much. It's just so crazy and cool. But I appreciate every episode we've done. We haven't had really many bad ones as far as the interviews go. We've had some technical issues here and there, but not too many. No. And so for the 100th that we've done, and any extra special ones that were thrown in the mix, I am proud, and I can't wait for another 100. And let's just keep building and get those people on YouTube, and make sure you follow us on Facebook as well.
Definitely.
Tulsa Music Stream.
Thanks for all the love. Scott and I are going to go out tomorrow night, and apparently we're going to have to buy a new refrigerator because right before we went on the air, we saw that our fridge died. So that was fun. Anywho, we'll go do that, and we will definitely see you guys soon. Remember to come back here Thursday, February 22nd at 6 p.m. Central for our talk with Bobby Brown. We love you guys. Have a wonderful, safe weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Happy Valentine's.
Oh, that too. Thanks for watching 100. See ya.